Organizations that align with Harmonic Harvest might have social gatherings daily, weekly, monthly, or maybe just once a year. When I knew I wanted to create a platform that showed the different ways that we're coming together in our community, I wanted fitness to be a part of that. Next thing you know, I'm at my local grocery store and I run into my friend Zach, who's from Brandon, Wisconsin, where there's 872 people. And next thing you know, we're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, talking about how he's going to have a 24-hour fitness event for Mel'S charity called Muscles for Mel'S. So I'm here today with Harmonic Harvest to give him $10,000 and see how their day is going.
If I knew you was for me, if I knew you was to say I would've bought you a soda. Shout out Big Gucci grape soda, my nigga. The basis is loaded. The posture is check.
I'm so proud of you.
From Brandon, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Both of us.
Just talking about how you have a vision and you turn it into making it a dream come true. And it's really exciting to be here today and see everything that you've done.
Well, appreciate
everyone that came together to support this.
Yeah.
When did you get this idea?
So last year I met Tom Stanton with Mel'S Charities at an event that we were the main sponsor at, and him and Ross, the main ambassador for Mel'S Charities, main person with disabilities, came into our tent and we're just like the most cool, humble, amazing people, and I was like, I have to be around you. Like once a month I got like lunch with Tom just to hear about the amazing things with his nonprofit and with all the kids with disabilities. And then I do kind of crazy fitness stuff. So I signed up for a 100-mile ultra marathon in June, and I was like, well, I'm gonna do this 100-mile ultra marathon anyway. Like, what if we like fundraise for Mel'S Charities through it, and you got all proceeds from doing this? And it was like no idea what to expect. The Journal Sentinel wrote an article about it, which was crazy, and then like just through word of mouth, we ended up raising $22,000 for them through the run.
Hell yeah.
And it was a life-changing experience, not for the run, but for like the act of like giving what you like. When you give selflessly without expectation of return, you like receive more than you ever could have like dreamed of in the first place, right? So like that whole process, seeing these kids with disabilities that are like the most genuine, like cool people like ever, like being around them like changed my life, like genuinely. So then 3 days after the ultra run, I was in here in Dropout, and Jens and I were working out, and it was like, dude, we should work out for 24 hours straight in here. And he's like, I'm in. I'm like, uh-oh. And then was like, all right, if we do that, we got to fundraise for charity. We can't just do that on our own, right? And it was like, why would we just do it us two? Like, why wouldn't we open it up to Train Moment, Solid Core, Dropout, like Barcode, like Sprint Boss, like all these gyms that are like, that we're part of, like why not include everyone? So it just started that way and turned into a little bit more. And then it was like, well, instead of just having every hour on the workout just us, how can we like pick a charity and help out with, since I knew Mel'S, and some of the kids that made the signs like out of old license plates is a Special Olympic powerlifter.
Yeah.
So I was like, he does all this work for all the signs for everyone, like why not like create an event where he gets celebrated? So from 11 to 1 today, we had the Special Olympics group powerlifting team come in and like just like do their class or their workout. And we weren't sure how we were gonna set it up. There's 8 or 9 of them, and they just did it one at a time. So we had 50, 60 people here, like just like cheering them on, like hyping them up.
That's incredible.
And there's so many cool videos of like, they get off the bench and they're like, you know, just like pumped up, so.
I love that. It means a lot seeing someone take their passion and turn it into a purpose.
Exactly.
You're already doing this 100-mile run. Why not tie it in with charity?
Exactly.
You're doing it already.
Yep.
And if we can continue to push that message, like how we're doing these videos, hopefully the ripple effect will be more and more people saying, hey, I'm doing this already.
Exactly.
What if I use that momentum to give back to other people?
Exactly. It could be woodworking, it could be, you know, reading, knitting, quilting. It doesn't have to be fitness, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, just whatever you're passionate about, help others. And it actually kind of started with volunteering downtown here in Milwaukee, where Train Moment, we'd run a volunteer group, we'd go to Kinship Community Food Center and just like help them like grocery shop. And like, I called it collateral good, like collateral damage, like something happens and something bad happens like around it, right? That wasn't intended. Whenever you volunteer, whenever you give, whenever you serve, like there's so much collateral good that occurs. Like I just got goosebumps like talking about that, right? Where like you do something with good intentions and you just let it happen, and then all of a sudden like a million other things like occur where you're like, how is that even possible? So
I love the space that you're creating.
trying to.
And it's really special being here today. So do you
It's a
want to...
testament to all them too.
100%. Do you want to explain a little bit more about, you kind of mentioned some bits and pieces of what's happening today, but it's 24 hours. So you got here probably even before 7 a.m.
At about 6:15 showed up. So I was debating in my head to get here at 5 and start working out then, just because that's how my brain works.
Oh my God.
I was like, I should
Our
probably
brains
get an
are
extra.
also different.
I should probably get an extra hour of sleep.
Seriously, I love that, because the whole point of Harmonic Harvest is that we all have different worldviews, different strengths. I don't wake up at 5 before my 24-hour fitness thinking maybe I should get an extra hour in. But it's cool to see. It's really fun, and you're going to be continuing to go till 7 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. So the ultra marathon run I did took 27 hours, and I know how hard that was to like stay up and be active and like do those things. But that was like straight running, like nonstop, where I was like, I wonder what it's like in a gym where like you're using a lot of the same muscles and you're lifting a lot. Like, how do your muscles respond? How does your brain respond? And at midnight, Jens came up with a really foolish idea of trying to do a marathon ski on the ski erg. So that could take 4 hours of just a continuous like motion like that. So
It's a great way to stay awake. Are there ever moments that you want to give up?
all the time. Yeah, that's the point of all of this is like, so I never ran before COVID, ran 3 miles one day during COVID, ran 6 3 days later, ran 13 a week later, ran 26 3 weeks later. So that's the whole point is like, what are you capable of and how are we like selling ourselves short? Like working out for an hour, which is amazing, you know, everyone's in a different place, but working out for an hour was like, I can't imagine working out more for that. And now you're like talking 24 hours. So where are you like, with your relationships or your family or your job or whatever it is, where are we selling ourselves like short or giving our community, right? So like how can, it's just the mindset of like, when you want to stop, you don't have to, and like you might just have to change the game in your head, right?
What's part of that for you? Like, what keeps you going?
Honestly, like a lot of like ultra runners and people that I listen to, it's a lot of like rage or trauma that like drives them, right? They're really trying to unpack things like deep within their soul and like really like connect to that or like, but I've had such an easy childhood in life that I can't like, I could for like a minute or make something up, but like that doesn't like pull it out. For me, it's gratitude.
Yeah.
So like during the ultra run, I called it like gratitude running, where like I'd latch on to like somebody that I'm super like thankful for and then like appreciate that moment or appreciate that person. And like just think about it super in depth or like, and just get a bunch of energy from there. But
That is so
sometimes we
beautiful.
go to a dark place.
Right.
But
I mean, it's healing, but also liberating, and just to like connect to what matters in life.
Right.
Gratitude. It's the
Exactly.
smallest things of, right, and you mentioned the people that make our lives a different, better place.
Yep. And like doing it with somebody like Jen's too. It's like, I heard once that men have to battle before they bond and women bond before they battle, which is really interesting. And when you think about how relationships work, so like guys like Jens and I went to battle, we did a marathon row before, like 44,000 meters on the row machine, and like that bonded us, right?
Yeah.
Brothers in suffering. So it's like coming up with ideas like this, but then not just doing it for ego, but doing it for something bigger, right? And like, we didn't think we were gonna have anyone here tonight, and there's still 14 people here, right?
Yeah.
15 people here still working.
This is
out.
amazing, and everyone
So-
is so excited and amped up to be here.
Right.
Like, if I were to walk in right now and it was me here, I'd be like on the ground. Like, I'd just be in this thing when I saw you. Just compressing my muscles.
I came here for the recovery hour.
How was it organizing this event? Like, trying to
Yeah.
get, you know, vendors or just people that
Yeah.
will help support your vision?
Yeah, it's, to set this up, it was like, we didn't really know how. This is the first time. So like, Mel'S Charities, through the ultra run, we did Give Butter, like just like a donation site. And instead of making things difficult or like more extreme, we're just like, sign up on there, we'll create the classes, have like number of tickets, and just whatever happens, kind of happens, and keep like a Google spreadsheet. But, and then when it comes to like vendors, people were very generous, but we didn't really have it built out well enough yet to show a vendor like what they get from it, like who's going to be there. Plus, we didn't really know,
Right.
right? For the Special Olympics, we didn't know if it was going to be 1 kid or 40 kids, or now that they got a feel for it and see how cool that is, and like everyone here, in the future, you could easily be like, hey, there's going to be 200 people here throughout the day. Like, you could have your signage here, you could donate food, you could donate X, Y, or Z, and shirts, you know, and like really like make it something. Because thinking of that way, like 50,000's a pretty quick number to get to if you had 5 local businesses doing $5,000 to help food, help, you know, shirts, whatever.
I couldn't agree more.
And this is pretty much just by signups. I mean, my company donated just because we're part of it and support Mel'S in that way. So.
And your company is?
It's Gentian Financial, so we help people retire. But
I love when businesses give back.
yeah, that's one thing. I have the greatest mentor in the entire world, and he gave me this analogy one time, and it's based off a book, but it's that there's 2 mountains in life, and the first one is about more success, more money, more cars, more boats, more whatever it is, right? More status in your job or who knows what. But that mountain, when you get to the top of it, is completely unfulfilling, and you might look down that mountain and be like, oh wow, I scorched a lot of earth around me, like maybe a relationship, maybe kids, maybe a marriage, you know, something like that. Whereas there's a second mountain in life, which is one of contribution, right? And if you can start earlier and earlier and realize that life is about contributing and the rest really doesn't matter at all. Like that if you're worried about making money, bring a ton of value to people and money's gonna come in the wake of all of that. Right? Like it never is a concern.
I've always learned that helping people helps me too.
Oh, exactly.
It like feels good to give back.
We talked about that once, and so much so that giving might be the most selfish thing I've ever done because of how you feel about it, right? So like you like, people always say like, oh, so selfless. Like I might actually be the most selfish because this fulfills me the most, right?
I like that.
So just another way to look at it.
So how often do you see doing this? Is this going to be like a yearly event or?
I still have a full-time job and a lot of other commitments with nonprofits that I work with, and just want to keep it really simple to start. The idea would be one time a year, around this time of year maybe, where we do that. But the dream isn't just drop out the 5 gyms that we have. The dream could be, why not every gym in Milwaukee on a certain day? It doesn't have to be for the same charity, doesn't have to be, you know, the same idea, but just that maybe not 24 hours, maybe the first 6 hours of the Saturday. Pick a local charity, try to do this, and like create the framework like you talked about that you're really hoping to do is create the framework for these nonprofits. So create the framework on a one-pager and be like, this is the registration site, this is how you do it, this is how to pick a charity, and then like, boom, they do it on their own, but why not any gym in Wisconsin? Or what if every gym in the country on September, the last weekend of September every year, chose a charity and like did something?
Yeah.
Right?
You helped create this model, this blueprint. Maybe other people help contributing to what that looks like and help that grow. And next thing you know, every gym around the world, the last weekend of September, are doing 24-hour fitness challenges for charity.
Right. Or even the morning of, right?
Right, exactly.
Like,
you make it work for you, right?
And after today, what if it's a partnership with the Special Olympics? Where
Seriously.
Like, they have all these different chapters. What if in each chapter of all the regions across the country, like partnered with a gym and like set it up that way? Because that was the coolest part of the entire day.
Seriously.
So
the opportunities are endless, and I'm excited to see where you go from here.
Yeah.
You know, Harmonic Harvest is all about weaving the silver linings, because I truly believe that what you guys are doing is what enriches our community and makes it a better place.
Well, thank you.
Proud of you.
Yeah.
Okay, goodbye. I'll give you my donation.
Yeah. Oh. Well, what
It's
is
the first
this?
check I've written for Harmonic
serious?
Harvest to give to organizations.
That's
I'm
crazy.
giving away $100,000 to the organizations
You're crazy.
I'm working with in season 1.
What are you
and
doing?
this is for Mel'S Charities.
That's amazing. Unbelievable. They're gonna flip out when they see that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So $10,000
so proud of you.
for Mel'S Charities.
That's unbelievable.
I'm happy I could help. I wouldn't have
ridiculous.
known if I didn't run into you that day and hear it from
Right.
you, because I never would search like a fitness event near me, or I wouldn't know how to search for this.
Right.
So hopefully Harmonic Harvest, when we're up and running with our app where it needs to be, like people can find this without searching. You're not paying for the advertisement where it's missing my algorithm because it doesn't think that it applies to me.
Exactly.
You know, just trying to like create a better space, and what you've done helps me. So thank you.
This is unbelievable. The people you're about to affect with this is insane.
I would have loved to have a camera crew there 24 hours because of all the things that you had told me that was going on at that event. The 4 a.m. workout.
They would have seen some gnarly stuff.
It would have been really, really cool to see, along with everyone else's social gatherings. So can you give us a glimpse of how did you get inspired? What is it? Because we're talking to people who have organizations, businesses, whereas you're just this guy who's like, I'm working out, and why not do this for something good?
Yeah, thank you, Jenna. First of all, just honored and humbled to even be able to have the chance to talk with you guys. I'm just a kid from a town of 800 people, but for some reason God always blessed me with amazing people in my life at the perfect time, and really started from volunteering downtown Milwaukee and came up with kind of an idea, or really an observation more like, is collateral good. When you're in service of others without expectation of anything in return, there's collateral good that occurs always. Just like collateral damage, right? An unintended consequence of something bad happening. Anytime you're in service of others, there's collateral good, right? So it started from that, and I was like, man, I just really got to get more involved. I know I'm passionate about it, raised on this, I just have to do it. My company sponsored a concert called Gathering on the Green in Mequon. And a gentleman that runs a nonprofit, Mel'S Charities, and his buddy Ross walked into our tent and met him, and Ross has disabilities, super high functioning, just an amazing person, just a glowing personality. Walked in with Ross's crosses, makes crosses and gives them to people, right? And I'm like, I just got to be around these people more often, right? Their life is about giving to others, serving to others. So I was just like, hey Tom, Mel, can we just get like lunch once a month and just like get together and hear about what's going on with your charities and who you're helping, who you're serving? He's like, absolutely. So we get together, they help people with disabilities get involved in the society. There's an amazing development in Saukville. They bring Chris Herron. So if any of you guys are basketball fans, there's an ESPN 30 for 30 on him. He got addicted to really hard drugs, got kicked out of the NBA, and now he goes and talks to NBA teams, NFL teams, and high schools as well. And so Tom brings him to Ozaukee County to talk through high schools, run memorials for, people that, their life ended too early, right, or walked into Lake Michigan and didn't come back, and run memorials for these people. Just do incredible things. And one time, like after our 6th time of getting lunch, we were at Highland House in Mequon, and he's like, yeah, every time anyone drinks a Modelo in Ozaukee County, 25 cents goes towards Mel'S Charities. And they call it Modelos for Mel'S. I'm like, well, that's cool. Didn't even think anything of it. And an hour later, I was like, I have a 100-mile ultramarathon run coming up in a few months. And I'm like, Modelos for Mel'S, Modelos for Mel'S. What about miles for Mel'S? Like, I'm doing something anyway. How can I create collateral good with something that I'm passionate about? I'm not passionate about running, but I'm passionate about pushing myself. No limits.
I hope you are.
Right? So that like sparked that, and it was like miles for Mel'S. Okay, I'm gonna try to do this and give inspiration, give anything I can, and create an unintended consequence, right, or an unintended good. And the Journal wrote an article. We ran an interview, and we ended up raising $22,000 for them to this 100-mile run. And it was a life-changing experience, not because of the run, not because of pushing yourself beyond limits. It was because it showed me what I want my life to be about. And somebody once told me that the 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you figure out why. And that's what it was for me. It wasn't the run, it wasn't the dollars raised, it was the joy that Ross saw when he got to write another thank you card because of a $50 donation that came in, right? Or the message, the email from a lady who 3rd bout of cancer, single by herself, wasn't gonna fight it this time. Saw about the 100-mile run and it's like, I'm gonna fight this as hard as I can, right? So it's all these things that added up, and 3 days after the 100-mile run, I made it to work that next morning, so 27 hours straight. I ran through the night. It was 85 degrees during the day, 50 degrees and raining at night, and made it. And I went back to the gym 3 days later, and I was with a crazy buddy of mine who does crazy stuff too, and was just like, hey, we should work out for 24 hours straight in this gym. That would probably be pretty hard. And he's like, I'm in. I'm like, oh crap, like we got to do this then. I'm like, well, if we do something like that, just from what I learned here, like we just got to fundraise for a charity. Like we'll figure out a way to do it. And then I was like, why would we just do it us two? Why wouldn't we create an event where like we're close with Train Moment downtown, Solid Core, Dropout? Like why wouldn't we figure out a way to bring people together? Because if the act of giving and creating collateral good changed my life, how can we introduce it to other people? And so that's how it really was birthed, of just like, how can we get as many people as possible? And then it was like, okay, so Quinn, another boy with disabilities, makes signs out of old license plates. And he made me Miles for Mel'S sign. He made one for, my company, and made a bunch of other ones. And I'm like, he's a Special Olympic power lifter. Why don't we have them in here and lift them up at the same time too, to expose them to it? They might go to a Special Olympic event and it might only be their family there. How can we get like fit, in shape people or just anybody in there to like support them and lift them up? So it's kind of like constant turned into like this tiny thing and like kept growing. And then I was like, why eventually someday, why wouldn't any gym in Milwaukee on a certain day, say the last weekend of September, lift up a local charity, or do it with, partner with Special Olympics, or do something like that? Or what about every gym in Wisconsin? What if every gym in the entire country on a certain day just use their passion and love for fitness to lift up other people, right? So it was an extreme success in the sense of the people showing up, the friends, the unexpected things, and then from 11 to 1, we had the Special Olympic powerlifting team come in, and the joy that they had was insane. We had no idea what to expect. 9 kids came and we're setting up like bench, squat, and like deadlift for them, and like setting up 3 stations. And the coach had a brilliant idea. He's like, let's just go one at a time and like lift these kids up. So they would like literally walk out with like a walkout, like they're pumped up, right? And they'd like bench the bar, and then like the first kid Noah went, and he like sat up and kisses his muscles and stands up and like gives like the biggest like roar, and it was just hilarious, right? Of them just like showing off and watching my friends be part of it. It was just the coolest experience possible. And the collateral good, I get a text at 3:30 from Jenna. It's like, hey, you mind if I stop by? And went through and we just talked and like filmed stuff, and then Jenna's the reason why we were able to get to 22,000 too. So that's the collateral good. It always happens without fail. You don't worry about any of it. You just give without any expectation of return, and it all happens. And it doesn't have to do anything with dollars. It's just people and people being involved with others. So who knows where Muscles for Mel'S goes? I have like kind of an unofficial tie to the charity. It could be official here soon, but it's just the idea of how do we use our passions, our gifts. It could be woodworking, it could be poetry, it could be reading. It doesn't matter whatsoever, but use it to help others. And so that's how it was birthed. And afterwards, everyone's like, oh, we got to do this every year. We got to X, Y, or Z. So maybe next year, all these Special Olympic groups have like a different chapter, just like a veterans chapter, right? So what if every chapter partnered with a local gym and you did that, right? Or maybe it wasn't disabilities at all. Maybe the X, Y, and Z is passionate, or somebody passed away that year and they run a memorial. But what if every one day a year it was a celebration of fitness and getting people together? So
Congratulations.
long-winded answer, but
Inspiring, man. Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
just like Jen and I talked, I never ran before COVID, right? So it was a quarantine journey. Walked outside, ran 3 miles, thought I was going to die. 3 days later, ran 6 miles. A week later, ran 13. 3 weeks later, ran a marathon. And I was like, I'm never going to run again. And then I read Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And I don't know if you guys ever came across that, but he talks about an experience running an ultra marathon. I'm like, I didn't even know that existed. So I signed up for the only one I could find in Wisconsin, which was 100K on the Berkeley Ski Trail in Hayward, and it was 62 miles like 3 months later. So it was mind-blowing in the sense of what are we all leaving on the table? And it doesn't have to be fitness. It could be your relationships. It could be, your job. It could be your giving, right? That we're all selling ourselves short somewhere, and what can we do to like maximize it? So that's the entire purpose of that, and the idea
It's
behind it.
incredible. And Brian he just got rid of it off the screen, but you talked about running, and he was just like going crazy on the screen.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Yeah, each person, he's kind of been doing his thing as you speak, and like that. You're talking about
awesome.
running, and he's just been like
Movement.
Yeah, lots of movement.
That was easier than 100 miles, though.
But you know,
It's talent, though.
Instantaneous in a way.
it's inspiring to hear you talk like this, just like everyone that's spoken so far, because sometimes, I don't know if you've experienced, but there's been a lot of hope sucked out of our community, and when you hear someone talk like this, it like lights up your flame a little bit, and you start to remember like, oh wait, I have so much more potential. I can do something more with my life. And so you're like naturally creating these sparks just by what you're doing.
Yeah, and the amazing people, like I said, that God always puts in my life at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Well, it's also a reminder that the giver gets the credit, but any of us that are involved in nonprofit work or just helping people, it's cliche, but you really are impacted more.
Oh, yeah.
The thanks goes to the people you're serving. The recipients make it possible because it feels good to give. I mean, you're glowing, you've got charisma, you can feel your passion for the things that you've been able to do.
It's so humbling that you say that because we've talked about that and looked at that, and so much so that what is actually the most selfish thing we can do, and it's giving. Because you feel the best from it, you get the most from it. So it's almost like, oh, so selfless, you know, you're doing all these things. It's like I'm the most selfish because I know that's what I need in my life to be about, and it's actually the most selfish thing I could possibly do, but just want to share it with others and how amazing that is when it happens.
Thank you.
Have you heard of a book named by name? It's called Grit.
Oh, yeah.
You heard of that?
Grit story?
Angela
Yeah.
Duckworth. I'm actually reading that now. What you described was specifically with like the marathon and you running or starting out to run. That stood out to me, that perseverance that you have, like going the extra mile and pushing yourself. Do you feel like with your business muscles, like that has pushed you the most out of anything you've ever done before?
Oh, absolutely. Asking people for money or fundraising is like the hardest thing in the entire world.
Yeah.
We're setting up an event because I essentially doing this for fun. It's not even my business. I just did it for Mel'S Charities just to try to help them.
Yeah.
Right. This was just an event that happened last Saturday, so it's like that act of like on top of everything else. And I learned this last Christmas. Adopted a family and just bought them. I think it was through the Journey House. Bought like you get a family and you like buy them Christmas presents, and most Christmas presents for a lot of us growing up might have been toys or whatever.
Action figures.
Exactly, but it was clothes, it was jeans, it was gloves, it was hats, and like I threw in, like toys and stuff that weren't even on the list. And I remember being at Kohl's, the line was around the store, I was hot, I was uncomfortable. I looked at what was in the cart and I'm like, damn, I'm spending a lot of money. And like as I said that like out loud to myself, I was like, spend, giving, right? But like that flip of the mindset of like spending versus giving, and it completely changed like the mindset on it of like, sure, you might be stressed out about setting up an event that you've never done before, or reaching out wherever, but you're not spending your time, you're giving your time.
So
And that
switching the way you think about things.
Well, I think it's the same for nonprofit professionals. It can be hard to ask for money, but if you believe in your passion as you do, the reality is you're giving an opportunity for a wealthy person, a person of means, to use their money in a great way. And so if you go in with that belief, it's not hard to ask for money because I'm actually doing you a favor, allowing you to be part of our organization, that we spend your money efficiently to help, in our case, children that need mentors. In your case, I mean, Mel'S is incredible. So go in with gusto and confidence because you're doing them a favor as well. It's a partnership.
Very well said.
I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
You said what stood out to me the most, and I'm actually going to take with me out of this room, is you said there's two most important days in your life: the day you're born and the day you find out why. That stood out the most to me. Do you feel like what you're doing now, do you feel like that is your why, or do you feel like you found out you're at that point in your life where you found out your why?
I think the why is deeper than Muscles for Mel'S. Muscles for Mel'S might have been just a tool for the why, but the journey with Ross, the journey with the miles for Mel'S was, I'm on this earth to give, to inspire, and to serve. So whatever it is, it doesn't have to be Muscles for Mel'S, it can be through anything, right? So for a living, I help people retire. So putting it through the lens of not managing people's assets or optimizing their taxes, I'm giving somebody the opportunity to sleep well at night knowing that they're well taken care of so they can spend their life exactly the way they want to, their retirement the way they want to, right? Yeah. So it's like reframing of what life is about, or every action, right? Instead of I'm going to the gym to lose weight or get stronger, I'm going to the gym to potentially inspire somebody or help somebody.
Outside of yourself.
So that would be more so the reason why and also to not just do things to do them. We all do things for selfish reasons, right? And like we said, giving is the most selfish. But if you're going to do a 100-mile race, see what else you can do. Like push yourself in the sense of getting uncomfortable again, not just for doing something that you don't know if you can do, but like get uncomfortable to bring more people along with you, or let them be part of it, or fundraise for it, or anything. If you fundraise $50, who cares? You try it. There's no failure, right? There's only learning. So
that's how I feel with my launch. We're doing this right now, and I could go public, and maybe a handful of people apply for my grant. Maybe it only goes to Milwaukee. Like, that's enough for me. Like, obviously I want to go further, I want to do more, but at the end of the day, what we're doing right here is enough too. Like, we have to give ourselves a lot more credit for everything that we have done, everything that we have been through. We talked about maybe being discriminated against, or maybe you hosted a gathering and nobody showed up, or it is hard to ask people for money. It's like we go through these growing pains sometimes, or just dealing with how reality can be. But hopefully by having more of these conversations, like people that are watching this, they'll hear that and say, there are actually like businesses set aside funds. There are a lot of people that have money that set aside funds as well, and they want to help communities. If they heard about the guy who's working out and giving that back to charity, like, it's only going to ripple effect.
And it's changing the game of what your success, which is like one of the worst words out there in general, but changing the game of what that looks like. Because getting people in the room with the same energy, with the same mission at the underlying surface of all of it alone could affect all of us in a way that you have no idea. Or Brandon could share something and be like, oh, I know this artist, and connect him with somebody, and one action could change everything.
Happy holidays. I hope everyone has been enjoying this docu-series, Weaving Silver Linings, so far. I just wanted to explain that not all grant recipients were able to attend the collaborative conversation because I didn't have all grant recipients chosen at that time. This really came together very quickly. We've been filming everything since October, and I'm gonna make a separate YouTube video explaining that process, how this docu-series came into fruition, how I found the grant recipients. Just wanted to clarify, we're about to go into Gilly. She doesn't have the collaborative conversation, and I didn't want there to be any confusion. So enjoy the rest of this series. You're gonna meet, let's see, you just met 3 recipients, so you're gonna meet 9 more recipients. So enjoy Gilly, and I'll see you next week. So this is Gilly. I'm excited to have you on Harmonic Harvest Season 1. I really like what you're doing. Can you explain what Gems Only is?
Yes. Gems Only, what I want it to be, is a social movement. I want when people to think about Gems Only, they think about like having a good time, just being able to kind of let loose and kind of be themselves. Right now, Gems Only is events, but soon will be like community talks, more give backs, things like that. I want to be more immersed in the community, so I want Gems Only to have like a huge presence, like in Milwaukee.
Me too. Let's rewind a little bit and talk about how you got to that point. You just mentioned that you were in social work.
I was. So went to school to be a social worker, got my master's in social work in 2019, then pandemic, 2020. I moved back to Milwaukee from Madison, Wisconsin. My mom is diagnosed with cancer at the beginning of the pandemic, so I have to move back. As I moved back, I realized that nothing's open, there's nothing to do, everybody's in the house, everybody is not doing anything. I start putting mixes out or in DJing live streaming on social platforms, and quickly realized that a lot of people were tuning in and having a good time during this dark time of the pandemic. during that time I was a full-time DJ, but decided that I wanted to go back into social work after leaving the profession for a little while. But I wanted to go back into social work the way that I wanted it to be. So ended up working again for a little bit and quit my job last year.
I have so many questions. So how old were you when you first started playing with music and DJing?
So I taught myself how to DJ while I was in grad school. So I've been DJing for almost 5 years now. So 2018 is when I started like putting my hands on the platters and figuring things out. But I can remember back in 4th grade, like making mix CDs for people for their birthdays.
That's so cool.
Or in high school, people invited me to parties just to plug my phone up because I always had like all the music or playlists and stuff. And I can remember people back then saying like, man, you should be a DJ. But I'm thinking like, that's not a lucrative career. I'm about to go to college and embark on this journey of becoming a social worker. But yeah, realize that DJing is my thing.
What made you want to become a social worker?
My mom. She's always been the person to help out anybody. And when I say anybody, I mean anybody. She will literally give the shirt off her back if she could. I watched her as a kid feed a lot of kids who were hungry, or there are less fortunate kids who I went to school with. She's like, you know, washing my old clothes and stuff, or clothes that I don't wear or can't fit, and like donating it to the school. And I always thought it was very admirable, but always thought, okay, how can I do this as a career? And social work was the thing that resonated most with me. So I started working with children, youth, and families in social work, and then I ended my traditional social work career working with the geriatric population. So
Wow.
older adults. Yep.
First of all, your mom sounds like an angel.
She is.
And I was in the behavioral health field. You mentioned you worked for a county, so did I. I worked with youth in all ages. I think it's really great that you have that experience because I know what it takes behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that you went and got your master's degree
Yeah.
and you got into the field and you're doing the work, and especially working post-COVID. I mean, I feel like I need to look at the camera. I give everyone, I mean, even people that worked at fast food restaurants, delivering things to people's homes, but working with demographics that were in crisis situations, that need support. Like, talk about angels. I mean, people were afraid to leave their home, and you're giving your time and your energy to be there for somebody else. And I just give my heart to everyone that was in those spaces, because it was really difficult, you know, and there wasn't a lot that we could even do.
Yeah.
You know, so the fact that you went through all of that and then you're like, I'm gonna go a different direction, I'm gonna DJ. What did that feel like to make that decision?
It was hard not because of how long I went to school or all the things that I had to do to become a social worker. It was hard because I really went into social work because I love people and I love helping people. And I was always feeling like, man, if I left this profession, how will I still be able to help people and do things like that I'm passionate about to help people? And transitioning into DJing full time, I realized like I'm doing social work in a different way now. Like now I'm helping people through music, right? I'm using this tool of music and songs and things like that. And I'm playing these things and people are happy. And I see people smiling and people are telling me that they enjoy coming out when I'm DJing. I see people constantly coming like when I'm DJing different events. And I'm like, okay, I'm on to something. People are coming because they're having a good time and they're able to kind of let loose, and that's me doing social work in a different way. So it was hard to make that transition and to make that leap, but once I made it and once I was able to realize like I am still practicing social work, just not in a traditional way, it made me even happier with the decision that I made.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I'm sure you still use your tools all the time.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
I completely relate. I remember thinking I was in a position that I could retire in.
Yeah.
But something started changing within me. When I first started my career, I was working with drug courts and people who have been incarcerated, people who have addictions, working with youth. And I saw some things that were happening that made me feel uncomfortable. I grew up in the system, so seeing, and I have family members that have been in the system a lot, so seeing the inside of the system.
Yeah.
I talked to my supervisor and said, like, some of this doesn't feel right, like, why are we doing it this way? And he said, you're too idealistic. You think that things are supposed to work the way that they should, but the system is broken and you need to learn how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And people told me I was really cheerful and that will change. And I said, no, it won't.
Yeah.
And eventually I'm sitting there like, oh, it's changing. Like, it is a really difficult job. And the fact that you followed your intuition and you followed your heart and said, this is what's best for me, and I can still give back, I relate to that.
Yeah. It was hard because while I was practicing traditional social work, I felt like I was losing a part of me. I was becoming very desensitized to a lot of things from also being inside the system. I worked with child protection services, and I was seeing a lot of things where I was like, we should be able to help people in different ways. It doesn't have to be like this, it should be like this. And I was also met with pushback of, oh, this is how we've been doing it for so long. Okay, well, what about like some new ways? What about something new? And I felt like I was becoming drained because I wanted to be the solution so bad, but it was nothing that I can do. You know, you can try as hard as you can to like rebel against the system, but at what cost? Of being isolated, being alienated by people that you work with, being called out by people that you work with for not doing things the right way. So it was very draining for me. But now I feel like DJing and bringing people together is what makes me happy, but it's also, I feel like I'm on the right side of things now.
Yeah.
So that makes me feel good.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's even the little things like the county that I worked for changed this rule since COVID. But at the time, working with youth, they're gonna much rather talk to me like this.
Oh, yeah.
Not like walking in business like.
Yeah.
So it's just like those little things where now like you can present how you want to and meet people with who you are and that real human to human interaction. So how do you feel like what you're doing with Gems Only is helping eliminate prejudice and discrimination?
So Gems Only was really created because I noticed that when I was going out, it was a lot of, or going out or DJing as well, it was a lot of like club culture, which can get a little sticky sometimes. Like I thought when I got older that going out was gonna be everybody, like all different types of people being around dancing in the club or wherever or at different events. And it was just not like that once that time came for me. So I was like, you know what? I want to build something where everybody will feel comfortable, like come in and having a good time and letting loose. They don't have to worry about like bottle service or, you know, like what you are wearing or anything. I want everybody to come as themselves, come as you are, and just have a good time. So I am always very overjoyed when I see so many different types of people like at my events, because it's crazy because I'm able to see things that were once up here, like actually through my eyes. And I'm like, wow, like I see so many different types of people around. I see people having so many different types of conversations. I get so much feedback from people saying like, man, I met some of my closest friends at the very first like Gems Only that you did. We've been like hanging out all summer now. And I'm like, what? Like this is just me like DJing. At least that's what I'm thinking, you know, to start. I was kind of naive to the fact that I was actually really bringing people together and fostering and creating like this community within the city. And getting the feedback is everything for me because I'm able to really hear real life testimonies from people saying like, man, we had such a good time. I hadn't heard this song in so long. People don't play this while we're out. Like when is the next one? Things like that makes me really happy. But what really, really brings me a lot of joy is knowing that there are different types of people coming together. There's like no issues, no drama or anything. Everybody's just really having a good time. So, yeah.
So what type of locations do you host at?
So the very first Gems Only was at the Kempton Journeyman Hotel. That was in May, so obviously very hot. So rooftop event. And the last couple events, the last two, and the next one will be at the North Avenue Market.
I like that they're not just at bars or what you would think is the club. You know, everything that you said, I feel is combating community deterioration and lessening neighborhood tension because it is bringing people together. It is creating that safe place where you're actually making it known ahead of time before people come. Like, this is for everyone. We're not judging people on the clothes. We're not making it about that. Come as you are, which is a gem.
Yeah. So before I even do parties, the day before I do them, I put out like house rules. And they're not really like rules per se. They are, but like they're not anything like you can't do this or you can't wear this. Like it's more so of this is a safe space. Please respect everybody. If you can't respect or if you choose not to respect everybody, like you can't come type of thing. Because I do want everybody to feel safe. I don't want anybody to feel like they have to put on some type of show or like put on a mask whenever they're out. Because I know what that feels like, right? Like my experience in traditional social work, my experience in the education system, like it's always been like I feel like I have this armor on or this mask on and I can't truly be myself because like these spaces aren't like quote unquote made for me or I don't fit into this space. I want everybody to fit at Gems Only because that's what's important to me. So
that's beautifully said.
Thank you.
I have to just thank you again for everything that you're doing. It's nice to hear. I come from a really small community and I still have people look at me and say, you moved to Milwaukee? Like, oh, it's scary there. And for me to even reply and be like, look at what this girl's doing.
Yeah.
And look what that guy's doing. And look at all of these people that are coming together, creating these spaces is important to me because I see more of that than the other stuff.
Yeah.
And so this is a platform to hopefully lift up people like you and what everyone else is doing because genuinely I feel like you are the silver lining that's making our community a better place.
Thank you.
So here's a check for $5,000.
No way.
I know that you mentioned community talks. I think that's a really important thing to have. Spaces where people feel comfortable. It's important to set boundaries with people that are coming. I'm excited to see what you do with everything.
Wow, like that is crazy. The good crazy. Thank you so much. That like this means literally so much because Gems Only really did start from a place of, you hear the phrase like diamond in the rough, like it really started from like a place of, man, I want to be the change. I want to do something to change something. How can I do this? And to be able to look back at the different events that we've done or like the recap videos and see so many people just having just such a good time and seeing my vision just come to life, that's one thing. But to have other people see what's going on and be like, man, like I believe in that too. Let me be the change as well. Like that is a whole other thing. So, oh my God, thank you.
You're welcome. I believe in you. I'm excited to come to an event. I'm excited to come to some conversations. It's gonna be good. Thank you.